The night sky over the ruined world was dark, filled with smoke and ash, as broken fires still burned in the distance. The land was quiet, but it was not the silence of peace. It was the silence of something lost, something destroyed. In the middle of that lifeless place walked a young alien girl, barefoot, thin and weak. Her feet were cut from sharp stones, and her body shook from the cold wind that cut through her skin like knives. She had no home, no clothes, no food, nothing. To protect her from the cruelty of the world, her people had turned their faces away from her. She was unwanted, not strong enough to be useful, not beautiful enough to be chosen, not powerful enough to be remembered. She was left alone to die. And so she walked, step by step, in the shadows of burned houses and broken walls. Her hair was dirty, tangled with dust. Her eyes glowed faintly in the moonlight, but they held no hope, only fear and hunger. The girl wrapped her arms around her thin body, trying to fight the cold, but it did nothing. She had not eaten for days. Her stomach made a low sound, but she ignored it. She had learned to ignore hunger. She had learned to ignore pain. From far away, she heard the howl of wild creatures, predators who came closer when they smelled weakness. Her heart beat faster. She looked around for a place to hide. But there was no safe place, only ruins open to the wind and the monsters. She pressed her back against a broken wall, her breath short and fast. She prayed silently that the beasts would pass her by. The night dragged on, and the cold grew sharper. The girl pulled her knees close to her chest, shivering. Her lips trembled as she whispered to herself, words of comfort that no one else could hear. She remembered the old songs of her people, the songs mothers used to sing to children, but her mother was gone, her father was gone. Her people had chosen to abandon her. Tears ran down her face, but she quickly wiped them away. In this world, tears meant nothing. They did not bring back food. They did not bring back warmth. They did not bring back love. She looked up at the stars and wondered if there was anyone out there who would care if she lived or died. As she sat alone, she heard a strange sound in the distance. Not the sound of beasts, not the sound of the wind. It was different, metallic, heavy. Something was moving, crushing the earth beneath. It. The girl's eyes widened. Fear gripped her heart. She thought it was another hunting party, maybe soldiers, maybe slavers. Her body froze. She did not run. Running had never saved her before. Running only made her weaker. The sound came closer. Step by step, she pressed her small body deeper into the shadows. Her breath was shallow, her chest rising and falling too fast. Then from the smoke a shape appeared. Tall, broad, armored. The figure glowed faintly in the dark, light shining from the strange device on its arm. The girl stared. Her whole body shook. It was not one of her people. She knew their shapes, their movements. This was different. It was a human. She had heard stories of humans before. Her people spoke of them in whispers. Some said they were monsters, others said they were saviors. No one truly agreed, but she had never seen one with her own eyes. And now, one stood only a few steps away. The human moved carefully, scanning the ruins with sharp eyes. His armor was scratched, his face tired, but there was a strength in his steps. He carried something on his back, something long and heavy, a weapon she could not name. His breath came out in clouds of white, his chest rising like the calm of the ocean before a storm. The girl's heart screamed for her to hide, to crawl deeper into the shadows, but her body was too weak. Her legs would not move. She only sat, shaking, staring at the stranger. The human stopped. His eyes fell on her. For a moment the world froze. The howls of the beasts, the cold wind, the crackle of fire in the ruins. Everything disappeared. It was just him and her. She expected him to walk past like all others had, or worse, to raise his weapon to end her small, broken life with one strike. Her breath caught in her throat. She shut her eyes, waiting for pain, but the pain never came. The sound she heard instead was the soft fall of heavy fabric. Something warm landed on her shoulders. Her eyes opened in shock. The human had taken off his own jacket, thick and heavy, and placed it around her shaking body. The warmth spread through her skin, a feeling she had forgotten, a kindness she had never expected. Her lips parted, but no words came. She only stared at him, confused, afraid, and yet safe. The human looked at her, not with hate, not with pity, but with something she did not understand. His voice was low, steady, a whisper that carried through the cold night. "Stay with me forever," he said. And for the first time in her short, painful life, the alien girl felt that maybe, just maybe, she was not alone anymore. The girl sat frozen, the human's jacket wrapped around her thin body. The cloth was heavy, smelling of smoke, metal, and something strange she could not name. It was not the smell of her people, not the sharp scent of alien cities. It was different, strong, and somehow safe. Her trembling hands touched the fabric as if it were a treasure. Her eyes kept moving to the human, still standing near, watching the shadows with calm focus. She wondered why he had given her warmth when no one else ever had. She wanted to ask, but her throat felt dry, her voice lost after so many silent nights. The human knelt slowly, lowering himself to her level. His eyes were gentle, though his body looked built for battle. His hand pointed to his chest. "Human," he said softly. His voice was clear, carrying strength. Then he pointed at her, waiting. She understood. He wanted to know her name, but she had no name anymore. Her people had stripped it from her. Names were for those who belonged, not for outcasts. She shook her head, whispering, "No name." Her voice cracked, breaking the silence. The human's eyes narrowed slightly, as if hurt by her answer. He did not press her further. Instead, he reached into a small pack at his side, pulling out something wrapped in silver. With a soft tear, he opened it, and the smell of food filled the cold night. Her stomach twisted painfully, reminding her of the days she had gone without eating. Her eyes locked on the strange food. In his hand, the human broke it in half and held it toward her. She stared, suspicious, frightened. Was it a trick? Her people had once thrown scraps at her only to laugh when she crawled to eat, but the human did not laugh. He only waited, still holding the food out, his hand steady, his gaze calm. Finally, hunger crushed her fear. She reached forward slowly, her fingers brushing his glove as she took the piece. She sniffed it, then bit into it. The taste was strange, salty, full, but to her it was like fire in the cold, life in death. Tears filled her eyes as she chewed. She had forgotten what it felt like to eat without fear. The human smiled faintly, as if her small relief gave him peace. He ate the other half himself, making sure she saw it was safe. The night grew colder. The ruined world offered no shelter. The human looked around, then gestured for her to follow. She hesitated. Her people had taught her never to trust, never to hope, but something in his eyes made her legs move. He led her through the broken remains of buildings until they reached a half-collapsed shelter. He pushed aside the rubble, creating a small space inside. He gestured again, pointing to the gap. She understood. He wanted her to rest. Inside, it was dark, the walls broken but still giving some cover from the freezing wind. She crawled inside, curling up in the human's jacket. The warmth was strange but comforting. The human sat outside, his back against the wall, his weapon across his knees, guarding the night. The girl's eyes stayed on him. He did not sleep. His gaze scanned the horizon, alert for danger. Why? Why protect someone worthless like her? She closed her eyes, the question burning in her chest. But for the first time in her memory, she drifted into sleep without fear of being hunted. But the night was not quiet for long. In the distance, lights flickered, alien patrols moving through the ruins. Their ships hummed low, sweeping the ground with blue beams of light, searching for survivors. The human tensed, gripping his weapon tighter. He leaned closer to the opening where the girl slept. His voice was low, a whisper, quiet. She opened her eyes, her heart racing. She nodded quickly. pressing her small body deeper into the shadows. The patrol passed near, their alien language, sharp and cruel. The girl's blood ran cold. She knew those voices. They were her people, the ones who had cast her aside. If they found her, they would not take her back. They would kill her. She pressed her hand against her mouth, holding back a cry. The human stayed calm, his finger near the trigger of his weapon, his eyes locked on the patrol, ready to fight if they came too close. Minutes passed like hours. Finally, the patrol lights moved away, fading into the distance. The human let out a slow breath, lowering his weapon. The girl trembled, her chest rising and falling fast. She looked at him with wide eyes, whispering, They want me dead." The human's face hardened, his jaw clenched. He did not understand every word, but he understood enough. He looked at her, his eyes full of promise, and shook his head. "No one will touch you," he said. His voice was steady, carrying a weight that silenced her fear. The girl stared at him, confusion mixing with something she had never felt before: trust. She wanted to believe him, even though believing had only ever brought pain. Yet, as she pulled the jacket tighter around her and listened to the steady beat of his calm breathing outside the shelter, she began to wonder if maybe this time was different. The night passed slowly, filled with danger and silence, but she survived. Not because she was strong, not because her people cared, but because a human, a stranger from the stars, had decided her life was worth guarding. And deep in her heart, a small spark lit, a spark she thought was gone forever: hope. The Yao. Sun rose weakly over the ruined world, its pale light shining through the smoke-filled sky. The alien girl opened her eyes slowly, her body still wrapped in the heavy human jacket. For the first time in many nights, she had slept without shivering, in fear. For the first time, no beast had attacked her, no cruel hand had dragged her away. She turned her head and saw the human still sitting outside the shelter, his back against the wall, his weapon across his knees. His eyes were half closed, but he had not slept. He had guarded the night for her. She stared at him for a long moment, her chest tight with something she did not understand. When he noticed her awake, the human gave a small nod. He reached into his pack again and handed her another piece of food. This time she did not hesitate. She took it quickly, biting into it. The warmth filled her chest, not only from the food but from the fact that someone had thought of her. Someone had chosen to feed her. As she ate, she whispered, "Why?" Her voice was weak, almost lost in the morning wind. The human tilted his head, not fully understanding, but he caught the meaning in her eyes. He smiled softly and tapped his chest again. "Human." Then he pointed at her and said a word, slow and gentle. "Friend." The girl froze. Her eyes widened. No one had ever called her that. Not even when she was young and still lived among her people. She was never anyone's friend, never anyone's daughter, never anyone's choice. But this human, a stranger from the stars, had given her a name, a place, friend. Before she could respond, the ground shook. A heavy rumble echoed through the ruins. Dust fell from the broken walls. The girl's heart raced as she crawled to the opening of the shelter. In the distance, machines moved, their sharp legs cutting across the rubble. Alien patrol walkers. She recognized them instantly. The human's body stiffened, his eyes narrowed, his hand gripped his weapon tightly. The girl grabbed his arm, her voice shaking. They will kill me." Her words were broken, but her fear was clear. The human looked at her, then shook his head firmly. "No." His voice was calm, but his eyes burned with fire. The walkers stopped nearby. Their scanners swept the ruins with blue light searching. Soldiers walked between them, armored in black, their weapons ready. The girl's chest tightened. These were her people, but not her protectors. They were hunters, and she was their prey. One of the soldiers shouted, his voice loud and harsh, "Search everywhere, the girl must not survive." The words cut through her like blades. Her body shook. She pressed her back against the wall, tears filling her eyes. They had not forgotten her. They would never let her live. The human crouched low, his eyes meeting hers. His voice was a whisper, steady and strong. "Quiet. Stay low." She nodded, her body trembling. She wanted to disappear, but she could not. She could only trust him. The patrol moved closer, scanning the shelter walls. The blue light passed dangerously near. The girl held her breath, praying they would not see. But then, one soldier stopped. His eyes narrowed at the broken wall. His weapon lifted. The human reacted instantly. His arm pulled her close, pressing her into the shadows. His other hand raised the weapon, his finger tight on the trigger for a long second. The air was thick with silence. The soldier stepped closer, his boots crunching on the rubble, his weapon aimed at the shelter. The girl shut her eyes, waiting for death. But before the soldier could fire, the human moved. A flash of light and sound broke the air. The human's weapon fired, the soldier fell to the ground, lifeless. The girl gasped, her heart racing. She looked at the human with wide eyes. He had just killed for her. He had risked everything for her. Shouts erupted from the other soldiers. The patrol scrambled, their voices sharp with anger. The human grabbed her hand and pulled her out of the shelter. "Run!" he shouted. His voice cut through her fear. Her legs stumbled at first, weak from hunger and exhaustion, but his grip was firm, guiding her. They ran through the ruins, the sound of weapons echoing behind them. Dust and smoke filled the air as explosions shook the ground. The girl's chest burned. Her breath came fast, her eyes blurred with tears. She wanted to fall, to give up. But every time she slowed, the human pulled her forward, refusing to let her stop. His strength carried her when hers failed. Finally, they slipped into a deep crack between broken towers. The human pushed her inside first, then followed, pressing his back against the wall. He held his weapon ready as the patrol searched outside. The girl pressed close to him, her body shaking, her face buried in his jacket. His steady heartbeat thudded in her ears. Slowly, the patrol moved away, their shouts fading into the distance. The silence returned, broken only by her fast breathing. The human lowered his weapon at last, his eyes softened as he looked at her. She pulled back slightly, her tears shining, and whispered, "Why save me?" The human reached out, brushing dirt from her hair with surprising gentleness. His voice was quiet but firm. "Because you matter." Her chest ached at those words. She had never mattered to anyone before. But to him, she did. And as she stared into his eyes, she realized her life had changed forever. The ruins were quiet again, but the silence did not bring peace. The girl sat in the narrow crack of stone, her small hands clutching the heavy jacket around her body. Her heart still pounded. From the chase, her legs trembled so badly she thought they would break. The human sat beside her, his back against the wall. His weapon rested across his lap, ready if danger returned. His face was calm, but his eyes stayed sharp, watching every shadow. The girl's breath came in short gasps. She could not understand why he had risked his life for her. He could have left her behind, he could have saved himself, but instead he had fought, he had killed, and he had pulled her forward when her own legs wanted to give up. Her eyes filled with tears again, not from fear this time, but from something new. She whispered softly, "Why? Why me?" Her voice shook as if she was afraid of the answer. The human turned his head slowly, his eyes met hers, steady and warm. He leaned closer so his words would not echo. His voice was low, calm, and full of weight. "Stay with me forever," he whispered. The girl's breath caught. Her heart froze in her chest. The words wrapped around her like the jacket did, heavy, warm, and impossible to ignore. No one had ever said such words to her. No one had ever wanted her, not as family, not as friend, not even as a person. But this human had spoken as if her life meant everything. Her lips trembled. She wanted to speak, but no words came. Instead, she lowered her head, hiding her tears. The human said nothing more. He only rested his hand lightly on her shoulder, steady, safe, unshakable. Time passed slowly. The ruins groaned with distant wind. The girl leaned against the wall, closing her eyes. The human stayed awake, guarding her. Later, when the sky darkened, again he guided her out of the hiding place. They moved carefully through the broken streets, his hand always near her, leading her when she stumbled, stopping when danger was near. They reached an old building, half buried in rubble. The human checked inside first, then gestured for her to follow. Inside, the air was dusty, but it was dry. He lit a small device on his belt, filling the space with soft light. The girl sat on the ground, pulling the jacket tighter. The human pulled out more food and water. He gave it to her first before eating himself. She watched him in silence. Confused, she had been taught that humans were selfish, violent, dangerous. Yet everything he did was the opposite. After they ate, the girl finally found her voice. I was not wanted, she whispered, staring at the floor. My people, they said I was nothing, they said I should die. Her voice cracked, the pain spilling out like broken glass. The human's jaw tightened, his eyes darkened with anger, not at her, but at the cruelty of those words. He leaned forward, shaking, his head slowly, his voice was firm. They were wrong. She lifted her eyes to him, searching his face. Wrong? She asked softly. The human nodded. His hand moved to his chest again, then to her, repeating the same word he had taught her before. Friend. He paused, then added another word, simple but powerful. Family. Her chest ached. Her throat tightened. The word family was like a forgotten dream. She had once had parents, but they were gone. She had once wished for brothers, sisters, anyone to care. But instead she had been cast away, alone. Now this human, a stranger, called her family. Tears slid down her face, but she did not wipe them away this time. She let them fall. Her lips trembled as she whispered, I do not understand you. The human gave a faint smile. You don't have to, he said quietly. You only have to live. The girl's breath shuddered. She had lived only to survive, not to hope. But, now for the first time, she wondered if she could live for more. The night grew colder. The human adjusted his jacket around her shoulders again. He sat beside her, his arm resting protectively nearby. She leaned against him slowly, carefully, as if afraid he would push her away. But he did not. He stayed, still strong and warm. Outside the wind howled and creatures prowled, but inside the ruined building, the girl felt something she had never known before. Safety. Her eyes closed, sleep pulling her down. And as she drifted, her last thought was not fear, not hunger, not pain, but the whisper that had changed everything. Stay with me forever. Morning came slowly, the broken sky glowing red as if the world itself bled. The girl stirred awake inside the ruined building, still wrapped in the human's jacket. Her small body was warmer now, her chest calmer. For the first time she did not wake up to fear. The human was already standing, scanning the streets with sharp eyes. His weapon rested against his shoulder, always ready. When he noticed her awake, he gave a small nod. His voice was steady. Come. She rose shakily. Her legs were still weak, but his hand guided her forward. Together they left the ruins, moving through the ash and smoke until they reached a clearing. Beyond the clearing, she saw it. Metal walls rising from the ground, shining faintly in the pale light. A human outpost. Her eyes widened. She had never seen such a place. Human soldiers moved along the walls, their armor glowing, machines guarding the skies above. For a moment she felt her chest tighten. She was not one of them. What if they rejected her too? The human walked with purpose, leading her to the gate. The soldiers there lifted their weapons when they saw her. Their eyes narrowed, their voices sharp. One of them shouted, "Why bring her here? She is not one of us." The girl froze. Fear burning in her chest, she wanted to turn and run, but the human stepped in front of her. His voice was low but full of power. She stays with me. The soldiers exchanged uneasy glances. Some looked at her with suspicion, others with disgust. One muttered, "She is alien filth. She will only bring trouble." The words pierced her like knives. She lowered her head, ashamed. Her hands shook inside the jacket, but before her tears could fall, the human placed his hand firmly on her shoulder. His voice cut through their whispers. "She is under my protection." The gate opened slowly, reluctantly, and they were allowed inside. The girl followed close behind him, afraid. Of every stare, every human soldier watched her. Some whispered, some frowned, but none dared challenge the man who had brought her. They were taken to a large tent at the center of the outpost. Inside, leaders waited, humans and aliens who worked with them. Together they formed a council. Their faces were stern, their eyes cold. The human stepped forward, guiding the girl behind him. One of the council members, an alien elder with gray skin and deep scars, spoke sharply. "Why did you bring her here? She's a danger. She is unwanted even by her own people. You should have left her to die." The girl's breath caught. Her knees shook. She felt the same judgment she had always known. Unwanted, worthless. But the human did not move aside. His voice was firm, louder this time. "No, she is not worthless. She is a child. She is alive, and she matters." The council murmured. Some shook their heads. Others whispered that it was foolish. One human officer stood and glared. "Do you understand what you are doing? If you protect her, you may put all of us at risk. Her people hunt her. They will bring war to our gates." The girl trembled. Her body leaned closer into the human's back as if trying to disappear. She wanted him to step away, to leave her. It would be easier, safer, but he did not. He stood taller, his voice ringing out. "If war comes, then let it come. But I will not abandon her. Not now. Not ever." Silence filled the tent. The council members exchanged looks, some angry, some uncertain. One elder finally leaned forward, his voice cold. "Then her life is your responsibility. If her presence brings death, the blame will be yours alone." The human nodded without fear. "I accept." The words shocked the girl. Her eyes widened. She could not understand why he would carry such a heavy burden for her. She whispered softly, "Why? Why do this for me?" The human turned, kneeling so his eyes met hers. His voice softened. "Because you deserve to live." Her chest tightened. Her lips trembled. She wanted to believe, but the voices of the council still echoed in her mind. Unwanted, danger, worthless. The council dismissed them, and the human led her out of the tent. Soldiers still watched her with suspicion, but no one dared stop them. He guided her to a smaller shelter within the outpost, a place where she could rest. That night, as she lay inside, she stared at the ceiling. The words of the council cut deep, but the human's words echoed louder. She matters. She deserves to live. She turned on her side, clutching the jacket close. Her tears wet the fabric. Not from pain this time, but from confusion. For the first time in her life, she wondered if maybe she was not truly alone. And deep inside, a small flame grew, fragile but real, the beginning of something she had never dared feel before. Belonging. The days passed slowly inside the human outpost. The girl stayed close to the one who had saved her. The soldiers still looked at her with suspicion. Some whispered, some glared, but the human never left her side. His presence was like a shield, keeping her safe from their eyes and their words. Every morning he brought her food, making sure she ate before he did. He taught her how to drink water properly, how to use her hands without shaking. He even gave her simple clothes from the supply tent, rough and plain, but to her they felt like the finest treasure. For the first time, she was no longer naked in shame. One morning, the human showed her how to wash in the camp's water station. The cold water touched her skin, making her shiver. But when she looked in the reflection, she almost did not recognize herself. No longer a broken child covered in dirt, but someone who could belong. She touched her cheek in wonder. Her lips curled into a small smile, the first real smile she had felt in years. The human noticed and gave a faint smile back. "Better," he said simply. She nodded, her heart warm. He began teaching her words, pointing to objects and saying them slowly. Stone, fire, sky, friend, she repeated after him, clumsy but eager. Her voice grew stronger each day. Her fear of speaking faded, replaced with curiosity. Sometimes she made mistakes, and he laughed softly, never in cruelty. But in patience she found herself laughing too, a sound she had forgotten she could make. At night, when the camp grew quiet, they would sit together near the small fire. The girl would listen to him speak in his strange language, not always understanding, but comforted by the sound. His voice was steady, warm, like a song she wanted to hear forever. One evening as the flames danced, she whispered, "Why me?" It was the same question that had haunted her since the first night. The human looked at her, his eyes soft but serious. Because no one deserves to be alone. Her chest tightened at those words. She lowered her eyes, tears forming again. But this time they were not only tears of pain, they were tears of hope. The bond between them grew stronger each day. The girl began to walk more confidently. She learned how to hold her head higher, not always bowed in fear. She began to help with small tasks, carrying water, cleaning tools, simple things, but they gave her purpose. The human encouraged her with small nods and smiles, every gesture telling her she mattered, but the others in the camp still did not accept her. Some muttered that she was a danger. Some said she would betray them. The girl heard their whispers, and at night she curled tighter in the jacket, afraid. She thought about leaving, running into the wilderness so the human would be free of her burden one night, when she could not sleep. She rose quietly and walked to the gate. The cold wind cut her skin. She looked out into the dark ruins, empty and endless. Her chest ached. Maybe I should go, she thought. Maybe they are right. But before she could take another step, a hand touched her shoulder. She turned sharply and saw him, the human. His eyes were calm but firm. He shook his head. No. Her lips trembled. They hate me, she whispered. I bring trouble. I am nothing. The human's hand stayed on her shoulder, strong and steady. His voice was low, but filled with fire. You are not nothing, he said. You are alive, you are strong, you are mine to protect. Her breath caught. Her eyes widened. His words echoed inside her like thunder. She had never belonged to anyone. Not as family, not as friend, not as anything. Yet now she belonged to someone, not as a possession, but as someone worth guarding. Her tears fell freely, but she did not run this time. She fell forward, pressing her forehead against his chest. Her body shook with sobs. The human wrapped his arms around her gently, holding her as if she were fragile but precious. For a long time they stayed like that. The night was cold, the camp silent. But she no longer felt the emptiness of the world. She felt only the warmth of his embrace. The next morning, she woke with new strength. She followed him everywhere, listening, learning, asking questions. Her voice grew louder, her steps steadier. She laughed more often, and when she laughed, even the suspicious soldiers turned their eyes away in silence, as if they could not deny the light returning to her. Her bond with the human had become unbreakable. He was not just her protector now, he was her anchor, her reason to stand. But in the shadows beyond the camp, her people still searched. They had not forgotten her. They whispered of her bloodline, of the danger she carried. They would not stop until she was gone. And though the girl did not yet know the truth, the human could see it coming. A storm was on the horizon, and their fragile peace would soon be tested. The sun had barely risen when the first warning came. The camp alarms screamed, red lights flashing across the walls. Soldiers rushed to their posts, weapons in hand. The air filled with the sound of running boots and shouting voices. The girl froze where she stood, holding a bucket of water she had been carrying. Her heart raced. She had seen this before. Panic, fear, the beginning of death. She dropped the bucket, water spilling across the dirt. Her eyes turned to the human. He was already moving, his weapon strapped across his back, his eyes sharp and steady. He reached her in seconds, his hand gripping her arm. Stay close, he said firmly. His voice cut through the noise. She nodded, though her body shook. Together they moved through the chaos as soldiers rushed to the walls. Beyond the gates, the sound of engines roared. Dust rose in the distance, dark shapes approaching fast. The girl's chest tightened when she saw them, her people armored in black marching with heavy weapons. Their war machines rolled across the ruins. Their banners rose high. She knew them well, the hunters who had sworn she would never live. HFY. Camp shook as the first blast hit the walls. Fire lit the sky, soldiers shouted orders, weapons fired back. The battle had begun. The girl clutched the human's jacket tighter around her body. Her legs wanted to run, to hide. But the human did not move toward safety. Instead, he pulled her behind him, leading her to the command post. Inside, the council gathered quickly, voices raised in anger and fear. "They want the girl." One shouted, "Give her to them and they will leave us alone." The girl's blood ran cold, her hands shook. She wanted to scream, to beg not to be given away, but no sound came. Only silence as she stared at the floor. The human slammed his fist on the table, his voice roared above them all. "No, she stays here with me." The council members glared, some shouted back, "You risk everyone for one alien child, she is not worth it." But the human stood firm. His eyes burned with fire, his voice shook the tent. "She is worth it, she is worth everything." The girl's heart ached. Her tears fell silently. She had never been defended like this, not once in her life had anyone stood up for her. The council, frustrated, ordered the human to take her away from the center of the fight. "Hide her if you must," one elder snapped. "But if she stays, the enemy will destroy us all." The human did not answer them. He only turned, grabbed her hand, and led her away. His steps were fast and firm. She stumbled but followed. Her eyes locked on his back. The battle outside grew louder. Explosions shook the ground. Fire painted the sky red. The smell of smoke and ash filled her lungs. She coughed, but did not stop. They reached a storage bunker at the far side of the camp. The human pushed her inside, his eyes hard. "Stay here, do not move," he ordered. Her eyes widened. "No, don't leave me," she cried. Her hands clutched his jacket, her voice full of fear. "If you go, I will be alone again." The human knelt, his hands on her shoulders. His voice was low, steady but urgent. "Listen, I will fight. I will protect this place, but I will always come back to you." Her tears blurred her vision. She wanted to believe him, but the sound of the battle outside told her that death was close. "Promise," she whispered, trembling. His eyes softened, his voice was strong. "I promise." With those words, he rose and left the bunker. The heavy door closed. She was alone in the dark. Her body shook. Her hands pressed against her chest. She listened to the thunder of war. Outside, minutes felt like hours. The ground shook again and again, screams echoed, weapons fired. The girl curled into a ball, whispering to herself, "He will come back, he promised, he will come back." But then the sound changed. The door burst open, not with the human's steady hands, but with force. Shadows filled the bunker. Soldiers in black armor stepped inside. Their eyes burned with hate, their weapons pointed at her. Her breath stopped, her body froze. She wanted to scream, but no sound came. One soldier raised his weapon, his voice sharp. The council was right. You should never have lived. Before he could fire, another blast shook the ground. The roof cracked, dust raining down. The soldiers stumbled, and in that moment, she saw him. The human charged into the bunker, weapon blazing. His eyes were fire, his movements sharp as lightning. In seconds, the enemy soldiers fell lifeless on the floor. He rushed to her, pulling her into his arms, his voice fierce but gentle. "I told you I would come back." Her tears fell freely as she clung to him. Her body shook with fear and relief. He held her tightly, his breath hot against her hair. Outside, the battle still raged, but in that small, dark space, the girl felt only one truth. He would never abandon her, not even against an army.